So guys, in our business, we work really, really hard, right? What we do is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And some of us, I mean, if you look at the math on it, we work, some of us 8 hours, some of us 10 hours to protect a family. We want to do everything in our power. If we're going to put in that much of our time and our effort to get a family on the board protected, we want to do a couple little things that can take us 5 minutes and less to make sure that it stays on the books. So just little things that can make a big difference. And so we're going to talk, Maria is going to share with us a little bit about some important reports that come up that we need to keep our eye on. And some little tricks of the trade, some little things that we can do when we check these reports, the data that we get, to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that our business sticks and stays and makes it pay. So guys, without further ado, let me give you the one, the only, the Ginger Ninja, Maria Klucinec.
All right, thank you, Van. So yeah, guys, we're going to talk about important reports, a little bit of a dry topic, but we're going to try and make it fun. First thing I want to talk about is FHL Connect, kind of just what you need to know. And guys, I was going to present this at Agency Day. It's going to be on a much larger screen. So I apologize if you are viewing this from your mobile device. It's not going to be super easy to see, but you can still hear, so that's good. But I just want to make sure everyone has logged into this before FHL Connect. If you're super new, you may not have. But it's basically your 5-digit agent number and then whatever your personal password is. It's the same as what you use to log into the mobile sales app every morning. So if you've logged into your mobile sales app before, you know how to log into FHL Connect. And guys, I was going to have everyone take a picture of this. You can screenshot it if it's on your phone or just write it down. But here's how you find your reports on FHL Connect, the reports that we're going to be talking about. So you go log into FHL Connect, you go to Sales Professional, then Sales Professional Home, then Agent Material, then Agent Reports. And we're going to talk about just a couple of reports that there's like a whole bunch on there. You can look at every single one every week if you want to. Some of the most important ones that I always look at is your Casper, that is monthly. Your statement of account, that is also monthly, that's under your compensation tab. Your agent register, that is weekly under policy tab. And the weekly ones, guys, those come out every Tuesday, so they should be up right now for last week. And then finally, your progress summary report, which is also weekly, that's under the sales tab. So screenshot this if you need it, come back to it later to if you need help finding where this stuff is. So I'm going to quickly talk about your Casper, what it is and why it's important. So basically Casper stands for cancel at issue and persistently report. Basically it's talking about how much premium you've sold versus how much is still active. So the company average is 100%. That's the percent we're looking for on our Casper. And basically that means you have an average cancel at issue. So it's a little bit confusing. I'm not really a numbers person, but basically the average is to have about 10% cancel at issue. And for some reason they said that means 100%. So anyway, if you look at your Casper, you want it to be 100% or higher. If it's a little bit lower, that's not too bad. But if it's lower than 80%, you guys, you do not get a cash bonus and you do not get any stock bonuses. So that's really, really important to know. It really matters. The company's not just paying you based on, you sold a bunch of stuff. They're paying you based on how much of it sticks around. So that's really important to know, guys. I don't want anyone losing out on a bonus just because they didn't know about that. And on the flip side, if your A to T is over 100%, which is your A to T is the percent we're talking about, so it's active to target, then you get higher cash and stock bonuses. So obviously they're rewarding you for writing good business that sticks around. And guys, I don't even really want to talk about this part right now because it's going to be so hard for you guys to see. But basically what is on your screen right now, if you can even see that, is my Casper from the past month, just kind of putting myself on blast. And you can see it's, I kind of color coded it, so maybe you can kind of see something, but basically most recently is at the top. And when I started, my very first month of Family Heritage is at the bottom. So I kind of just color coded, the months where my A to T was really low are red. The months where it was like above 80 but below 100, I put that in yellow. And then when it was 100 or more, I put that in green. So I've definitely improved. I think when I first started, I was going into a lot of businesses that for whatever reason weren't sticking. I probably was also just somehow not as good at solidifying the sale, and that caused higher cancel issue percents. But anyway, so here's how to interpret this report when you look at it on your own, you guys. So the first column is effective month, so you know what month we're talking about. The second column is gross premium, so we know what that is. The third column is CAI, so that's cancel at issue. So cancel at issue means they canceled within their first month of having the policy. So gross premium minus cancel at issue is your net premium. So you can kind of see here in that column, sometimes I didn't have any cancellations that month. Sometimes I had a little bit, sometimes I had a lot. It just completely depends on certain things, which we'll talk about in a minute. Non-pay, that is kind of confusing. I asked Jason Stipp about this once. He's kind of the guy who's just really good at talking about reports to the home office. Basically, the month we're in, it always has non-pay because it's like they haven't received the payment yet because it just started or something like that. And then net premium, you guys know what that is. So gross minus cancel at issue should equal your net. If you see here, if you can see mine, so my gross plus my non-pay, that equals the net. So I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this. I don't want to confuse you guys, but the non-pay just means when this report was printed, they were still waiting to get the payments for $56.44 of premium, and that makes up for the difference between my gap and my NAP. So it's not that it canceled, they just hadn't received the payment for it yet. So the next time this report comes out, hopefully everything that's in the non-pay is going to move over to net. Hope that makes sense. Now, if you come over to the next column, that's active premium. So that is all of your premium from more than a month prior that is still on the books. So if someone cancels in their first month, that's a cancel at issue. And if someone cancels from like 6 months ago, that's still a cancellation. It does not affect your net. It affects your active. So that'll happen too. Sometimes people cancel a couple months in. That's reflected in the active column. Cancel at issue percent. So we're looking for 10% or less is considered, pretty good. That's the company average. 1 out of 10 people are going to cancel. Hopefully it's not too much more than that. Active net percent and target net percent. So that's your A to T, what I was talking about. So that's the number we're looking to be right around 100. So active divided by target should be around 100. You can see mine's 97. So definitely room for improvement there. But that's that. Basically, you guys all have one of these. If you've been here for probably about a month and a half or so, you should have one of these. I forget what day of the month it comes out. I want to say the 15th, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, that is your Casper. So anyway, moving on to progress summary report.
Hey, Maria, can we pause and just go back real quick and just see if anybody has any questions about that real quick? Because there's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I mean, it's kind of probably really hard for you guys to see, so I apologize about that.
So it wasn't hard for me to understand, but I was making coffee in the middle of trying to listen. Can you just tell me a quick run through of how to get to it one more time? I remember it's in the resources and then it's Casper.
So you want to go to sales professional. So this is under FHL Connect, sales professional home, agent material, and agent reports.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lovebug.
You are welcome. Anybody else have any questions about that? Guys, I think the best thing to do would be go find your Casper and look at it and then try and make sense of it. And then kind of once you see what I'm talking about, you can just look for numbers, look for 100%, see if it's over or under 100%, things like that. And then you might have some questions after that, but this is just kind of, especially if you can't really see, this is going to be just so almost theoretical, it might be a little tough. But if you guys think of any questions later, feel free to reach out and I'll see what I can do. So then the progress summary report, you guys, so that's a lot simpler. So this is your best way to see your NAP at a glance, track progress for trips, company standing, stuff like that. So basically what's on your progress summary report, that comes out every Tuesday at 8 a.m. So that has your gap versus NAP for the prior week. It has your month to date gap versus NAP, quarter to date, year to date. And so you can kind of see, you know, how much cancellation you've had so far this year for whatever incentive period we're talking about, whether it's the month or the quarter. You can also see your ranking amongst all the other sales professionals last week. So that's going to be per month for the quarter to date, year to date. So that's pretty cool too. So you might have been, you know, maybe you had a really good week last week and you were number 27 in the company last week. And then overall for the year, you might be number 127. I don't know, just throwing numbers out there. That's kind of cool to know because that lets you know where you are for the mid-year meeting, for the annual awards trip, things like that. So that's really important to kind of keep an eye on. It also tracks your net premium growth percentage. So I believe that's only if you've been here for a year. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you've been here for a year, that's when you can start to see your growth from last year. And then just for the first half of the year, they have something for the trip qualification for the mid-year meeting. So there's 4 levels at which you can earn that trip based on premium, net annualized premium, and recruits. So if we are in the time of the year when we're qualifying for that trip, you can see that. And I did not post a picture of mine just because it didn't let me go back in the archives far enough to see one where we had the mid-year meeting qualifications on there. So you guys all have this too. You should be looking at it every Tuesday, just so you kind of know where you are. But that is in the same instructions that I posted for how to find your Casper is going to be where to find your progress summary report. Again, Casper is monthly. Progress summary report is weekly under the sales tab. And then your agent register is weekly under your policy tab. So we'll talk about that one next. So the agent register is a lot more detailed than the progress summary report. The progress summary report is basically just, this is what you sold and this is what you still have on the books for last week. The agent register is broken into categories. So it lists everyone, all your policyholders who are new business, everyone who was terminated and the reason, and we'll talk more about cancellations in a minute. It lists everyone who was withdrawn and their reason. It lists all bank return items, resubmit bank return items, and then claims paid. So that's another good one to look at every week, just to kind of, it's a slightly more in detailed snapshot of your business. But yeah, guys, basically reports come out every Tuesday. I encourage you to check your reports every Tuesday, but don't do it during the workday because sometimes we see things that we don't want to see, and that can kind of put you in a bad mood and not showing up the best way for our clients. So I would recommend just do it at the end of the day when you're entering your stats. So you all probably enter your stats right before you walk into your house at night while you're just finishing up your last business. Pull up the reports then, just give it a glance. And then if there's anything you guys do with your VPF or your quarterly plan, enter those numbers in there and kind of see how it compares to where you want it to be. So that leads to the second point. So update your quarterly VPF, your vision plan and follow through. I think both organizations do that. I know we definitely do that in the Davenport agency. So it's a lot easier if you guys keep up with this. It is an extra step, but it takes literally 2 minutes to just go into your spreadsheet and, maybe you said you wanted to green out this week and you wrote 4,000 instead. So plug in 4,000 and now this week your goal is to sell 6,000 instead of another 5,000 just to make up for that one slower week. It's a lot easier to make up for one slow week than to realize at the end of the quarter how far behind you are. So just kind of keeping up instead of trying to play catch up at the end. And then really just take action. Once you know where you stand for the week. So Tuesday night, you'll probably find this out, then make a game plan for Wednesday morning. So that might look like calling cancellations, which we're going to talk about in a moment. That might look like adjusting this week's plan for hours and demos to compensate for last week's lower results. So maybe you didn't hit your premium goals. Maybe you didn't hit your activity goals. And we can't control premium, but we can control our activity. So maybe blocking off an extra hour or two, trying to get a couple more demos in each day. That'll help get you back on track. All right. Does anybody have any questions before I talk about alerts?
Yeah, Maria, this is Jeremiah. Back on the reports, the Casper report, you were talking about the rankings, and just for a matter of perspective, when you're talking about the rank, that's for the entire Globe Life company, where there's a few thousand agents, right?
Yep, that is for the Family Heritage Division of Globe Life. You're correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's where you stand for the week, for the quarter, for the month, and for the year, proportionate to everyone else. You are correct. All right, guys. So here's how to sign up for alerts. So you have a couple options. You can either wait until every Tuesday to find out who canceled such and such, who went active, who pended, or you can get daily alerts. Some people like emails, some people like texts. That's totally up to you, but the way you do that, and you can screenshot this page too if you'd like. So log in to FHLconnect.com, go to settings on the top right of the screen. It's kind of weird and confusing. It goes invisible when you click on it. I don't know. Then you can click on text email options and then just kind of choose your preference. So I personally have set mine to send them to me at 7 p.m. because I'm usually home by 7. I'm usually out of the field by 7. So if I get some bad news that someone canceled, it's not going to put me in a bad mood when I'm just about to go walk in front of a prospect. But you guys do you, whatever works best for you. And then we'll talk quickly about calling cancellations. So like Van said, if you work for 8 hours to protect one family, it kind of makes sense to spend 30 seconds to at least try and get them on the phone to get them back on the books. Easier said than done for sure, but you don't know unless you try. So there's usually 3 different scenarios. The first scenario with a cancellation is they call you trying to cancel. The second scenario would be they didn't know they canceled. And the third scenario would be they canceled on purpose. They know what they did. So I'll just run you guys through 3 different little scripts that I use, and you can screenshot these if you want, or just kind of get the gist of it and use your own. So if they call you to cancel, I recommend that everybody you protect, you save their name in your phone so that when they call you, you can answer them by name, because they're not expecting you to do that. And every time I've had someone call me to cancel, I pick up, enthusiastically say, hey, Mrs. Jones, how are you? They're like, oh, you remembered my name. Like, that's so nice. Like, they already kind of like you a little bit. And if they say, hey, I need to cancel my policy, just kind of act surprised. Be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Is everything okay? And then they'll say, oh, I can't need it. I don't need it. I can't afford it, whatever. And just quickly remind them how it works, because chances are they forgot. People forget quickly. So just be like, hey, so direct, indirect costs, ask them the critical questions again, remind them about return of premium. and then see what they say. Some people will be like, oh yeah, I forgot that's how that worked. Or I don't want to lose all my money I've put into it. Or yeah, I guess if I couldn't work, I'd still have to pay my bills, wouldn't I? Like sometimes people will be able to be saved from that. So if someone calls you to cancel, don't cancel for them. First of all, we are not customer service. It's not our job. It's not our responsibility. And second of all, imagine you did try to cancel for somebody and you faxed in their cancellation letter and it didn't arrive, like faxes sometimes don't do. Then think how mad the customer would be at you because they would think you like tried to scam them or something. So just don't put yourself in that situation. If they insist on canceling, the best we can do is give them customer service's phone number because we don't want to be liable for a fax not being delivered. So also another thing you can do, guys, if they're seriously, having money troubles, just remind them, listen, your policy is flexible. We can just lower you down to the lowest level of coverage. And this way you're not losing all of your return of premium and you'll still have the coverage if you need it. And then if your financial situation improves down the road, we can always bump it back up to where you are now. So that's really my go-to when someone calls me. Like that's really your best chance to save the policy. And just remind them what they have, try and build the need again. If they seriously can't afford it, bump it down, and you can always offer to do a policy review. I'll take questions after I talk about all three scenarios. The second scenario is they're unaware of the cancellation. So if it cancels because, bank information changed or it was an annual policy and they didn't pay their bill, couple different situations, bank account closed, whatever. Just call them up. Be like, hey, this is Maria, your Globe Life Family Heritage agent. Remember me? I met you at this job. You have a cancer policy. Does that ring a bell? And just be like, hey, I just wanted to reach out, let you know. Usually policyholders are unaware when this happens, but your policy has actually gone inactive. Do you know anything about this? Or were you aware of that? And a lot of times they may not know that happened. And I've met a couple folks, guys, in the field, and they're like, yeah, I had an Aflac policy and I had it for years. And then when I got cancer and tried to use it, I found out that it had been canceled and I had no idea. And sometimes, guys, it's not that Aflac went and canceled their policy. I don't think they would do that. But what happened is they got a new job and they forgot to transfer it from payroll to just personal, or they got a new bank account and they forgot to switch it over. So I don't want that to happen to one of my policyholders. I don't want them to be upset at me because they thought they had something and they didn't have it. So I always let people know, listen, if it canceled because of something I'm pretty sure they're not aware of, then I'm going to call them and let them know. So what all you need to do there is just get their new routing and account number and, just go on from there. Now, the third scenario, guys, is not my favorite just because it's when they canceled on purpose. I do my best to always call these people anyway, just out of principle. The other day at the hotel on agency day, I had one of these and Renee was there when I called him and it was kind of a funny situation, but basically just call them up and be like, hey, this is Maria, your Globe Life Family Heritage agent. Remember me? I met you at your job. You have this policy, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I had to cancel that or whatever. If they even give you the time of day, sometimes they're just like not going to even pick up the phone. But anyway, just kind of try and remind them why they picked it up. Hey, you had a really good reason for spending your money with us. Do you still have your brochures? Because on the brochure, that was right why they picked up the coverage. Be like, hey, do you remember what this is? Do you remember how it's different than health insurance? When you got this policy, you said that if someone in your family had cancer and you couldn't work for 6 to 12 months, that might have a negative financial impact. Is that still the case? Just be chill with them, try and build the need, remind them of their return of premium, so on and so forth. And honestly, at the end of the day, guys, if they canceled on purpose, I'm not going to guarantee that you can win them back with a phone call. Obviously, you can try and stop in if that is convenient for you. I'm not saying drive 2 hours away for someone who canceled because it's not like they're a hot prospect or anything. But, it's worth a shot. It's worth just reaching out and making sure that their spouse didn't do it or something, whatever. So those are really the three scenarios for cancellations. And again, I'm not saying that this works every time. but sometimes it works and it's worth a shot. Does anyone have any questions about calling cancellations or run into any scenarios or anything like that?
Maria, this is Greg. Another thing, if you're using your families for protection list where you're actually having them write out, why they picked up the coverage, you have that right in front of you. So that's also a good resource to go to when you're talking with them on the phone. That you can, so you can actually kind of go back over with them. You remember when we sat down, and we went through it and everything. And when I asked you, what your reason for picking up the coverage was, you said it made you feel you had peace of mind that it would be there to protect you and your family, that kind of thing. But it's just a good, quick reference.
That's a great point, Craig. I didn't even think of that. So yeah, guys, if you're using, so I know we have the Families for Protection list on our iPad, but if you're using the handwritten one, and sometimes you can probably still find it on the iPad, their reason for getting protected, just look that up real quick or pull out your list and be like, hey, remember, this is why you said you got that policy. So that's a really good tip. And guys, lastly, I want to just quickly talk about how to prevent.
Hey, Maria, real quick, I'm going to throw in something here.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. Y'all, a lot of times, and I'm sure we've all seen it, people kind of overbuy what they can actually afford. And they don't want to, they almost kind of feel embarrassed to admit that they just overbought. You might have oversold them or sold them too much coverage than what they could realistically afford, which is okay. Something that I've saved a lot of clients by doing just, yeah, man, it's just too much at this time, Brad. Sorry. Hey, no worries. Van, you know what most people do in these situations, because it happens all the time. Things come up or people forget about a certain bill or whatever, and that's okay, man. But Van, usually what people will do in this scenario, they do it all the time. It's just I'll just lower the level of coverage for you. That way you're not stuck with nothing, and you still have a good backup plan in place in case something does happen for you and your family. And it's going to cost you half as much as what we discussed. Does that sound good, man? I'm just going to drop you from the preferred level 4 or the elite level 8 down to the preferred or down to the standard, y'all, and just tell them what that rate's going to be. And if it's like half of what they were signed up for originally, 90% of the time, people are like, yeah, you know what, Brad, that actually sounds great. And of course, in the middle of that is you are reminding them why they picked up the coverage in the first place. But y'all just make it seem like, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Why don't I just lower that level of coverage for you so it's not such a burden on you financially? And hey, look, when you get back on your feet, I can just move it back up. And just let me know. Just give me a call. I've saved so many policies just by doing that right there. So, yeah.
No, that's helpful, Brad. Thank you. Do you do that when they call you, or do you do that once they've already termed and you're calling them back?
Both.
Both. Okay. So then when you call them back, they're usually pretty cool with that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It works all the time, no matter if it's already canceled or not, or they're calling me to just talk to or ask me to do it for them. We all just, once again, it's just, hey, it's all good. No worries. This, I don't do this to put a burden on people financially. It's to do the exact opposite for you and your family. So.
Guys, here's what, just real quick, I'll just throw in here. It's not always what you say, but it is how you say it. Did you notice that Brad didn't say, hey, would it maybe be okay if we maybe sort of just like cut your coverage in half and it was only half as much? Can we do that, please? He said, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you.
Yeah.
We're going to cut your coverage in half. Yeah, we're going to get you a little lower coverage to get it more in your helmet. That's what I'm going to do for you. Cool? All right. Guys, it's as assumptive as his clothes. Yep. And you know what people do? They go, oh, well, hey, thanks for doing me that favor. I appreciate it. If you approach it from hey, maybe can we sort of do this? You're going to get, well, why don't we just go ahead and hold off for now? So guys, it's all about your assumptiveness, and your confidence becomes the client's confidence. Thanks for sharing that, Brad.
For saying that, man, because y'all, and that applies to everything. Words like maybe, or can I, or do you mind, or just any words that are not assumptive, cut them out of your vocabulary immediately. Whether that's in your approach and your close, and you just getting a sit down. Oh yeah, can I just show it to you right here? hey, look, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to give you the quick version. I'm going to show it to you right here. Like, I mean, y'all just, if you just tell people what you're going to do and you just make it make sense, they'll do it. Whether it's saving policies, whether it's getting a sit down in your approach, or whether it's closing them, and just telling them what's going to make the most sense for them. So, of course, I could have an hour-long conversation about that right there. But y'all, words that are not affirmative, do not use them. I hear way too many agents out there using words like maybe or can I or just, yeah. So Van called me out on that in the beginning of my career because I used to say a lot, like crazy. I said it so much in my demo, and Van made me record my demo, and I realized how much I said it, so I quit saying it. Game changer.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
And one more thing, just to kind of piggy off what.
Hey guys, just so we're clear, we are up against it on time. So just if we keep on adding stuff to Maria's deal, we're gonna go. Not gonna have time for her content. So, but go ahead, Greg. One last thing.
Yeah, one last thing on what Brad was saying, but remind them of the return of premium, because if you tell them, along with the fact that you can bring them down in coverage, it's not a big deal. They still have good coverage. It's just going to cut their payment in half, what you can do for them. But also remind them that, this is an investment. That money is there for them, so they're not losing anything. They're dropped down. If they go back up, great. Down the road when things loosen up, but that money is going to be there for them in the long run.
Absolutely, guys. So yeah, if you saw these screenshots, that's all in there. Lowering the coverage, reminding them of return premium, building the needs. So grab these screenshots if you have a chance. If you didn't get a chance, message me and I can get those to you. So all good. Really quick, guys. I want to just talk quickly about preventing or minimizing cancellations. Obviously, we can't control what other people do, but we can do our best to write quality business and solidify the sale. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but I do my best. So that's all we can do. So writing quality business, guys, our job is not to profile businesses or people, but it is part of our job to qualify prospects. So a couple red flags that I hear sometimes, if someone says they're paycheck to paycheck, I typically don't want to get them covered because it sounds like they may not be able to make their payment. If somebody's making a low hourly wage, again, I'm probably not going to be super excited about getting them policies. If someone's on Medicaid, not only does that mean they're low income, but in some cases, Medicaid's a pain to work with supplemental coverage. And that's not really my target demographic personally. And to be clear, guys, it's not that these people don't need or deserve this coverage, but honestly, we don't do anybody any favors if we sign them up for coverage that they can't afford and then they have a bank return item 2 months later. That is not good for our reports. That's not good for our business, and it's not good for the customer. They just kind of threw 2 months worth of premium down the drain and didn't get any reward for it. A tip for hourly employees, this is a calculation that Van told me, is they shouldn't spend more than 4 hours worth of pay on their policy. So if they make $15 an hour, you can sell them a $60 a month policy, and that should be within budget for them. Van, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So a good little, I don't really know how we find out how much they make unless they mention it. I don't really ask people that. Maybe we can.
You just, if you're in that situation and you should have a sense of if you're talking to someone who's making closer to 100 grand or someone who's making $10 an hour. You'll have an idea of how they dress, how they act, how they speak. Just ask. Now, let me ask you something. The last thing we want to do is overburden someone with too much. I tell them a simple formula is about 1 hour of pay per week. So if you make $15 an hour, 4 weeks in a month, that's about $60. We don't want to put you much more than, and if you talk that through with the person, they'll understand, oh, they're out for my best interest. They're not trying to overload me. And then you can find a plan that fits right in that. That might be, it might be a preferred. It might even be a standard in some cases if they're older, and that's okay. Put in their household what they can afford, not what they're going to keep for 2 months and then cancel.
Exactly. Cool. So a couple tips for quality business. Business owners, really easy to build the need with them. they can most likely afford whatever they're signing up for. And hopefully you've got a lot of power names of other business owners, so that should be good. Referrals are great. Solidified sales, we'll talk about that on the next slide. Salaried employees are typically better than hourly employees. Larger policies, for some reason, guys, larger policies, when they can afford it, obviously, they tend to stay on the books longer. If someone's signing up for something that's $15 a month, it's either an afterthought or something they don't think they need or something they can already barely afford. And typically those $15 a month policies do not stick around very long. So if we have some time, guys, we could discuss some other aspects of quality business, but I'm going to let that go for now. And I'm just going to wrap up with solidifying the sale. So this is what I do. You guys don't have to do anything that I do, or you can, that's up to you. What I always do is give them a physical brochure, clearly labeled, level of coverage, draft date, who is on the plan. Is it the individual? Is it the family? Is it just the wife and the kids? I insert the new benefit explanation and client testimonials. So I have those printed out. I keep them with me. And I know some people don't like carrying paper around with them. You do you. I do that. So whatever. If you guys don't know what the new benefit explanation is, Dan's emailed it out numerous times. If you are new, you probably have not seen that yet. You can ask me or you can ask your direct leader. They will get that to you. Client testimonials, just print out, your favorite accident, heart, cancer brochure and include those with the brochure.
Everything's on the Protect One Family website, by the way.
Yes, Protect One Family website. Good call. So in Virginia, the accident plan does not have a 25-year return of premium. I sell that the most. However, if you are in a state where they have return of premium for all the policies, just write those amounts on the front of the brochure. So that's always cool. So when they pull out their brochure, they see, $27,000 return of premium on the front. That is a great thing for them to first see when they grab their brochure. I always write stick and stay and make it pay on the front. I write their reason for getting protected on their brochure. So not only do we have it on the names list, but they have it with them. Get referrals. I put here, recruit them. One time I had a guy who I wasn't feeling too sure about the policy I just sold him. And so I ended up field recruiting him and he's still on the books. That was over a year ago. Another thing that I'm not great about, just because my schedule's kind of erratic, is setting a policy review appointment. So if you can, guys, it's a good idea to set an appointment for 30 days out and just be like, hey, your policy's going to come in the mail, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to come back in a month. We'll go over it, make sure you understand it, all that good stuff. And that'll at least keep them on the books for a month usually. And then tell them to please call you if they need anything to change, if they need help, blah, blah, blah. That'll help get you into scenario one of those 3 scripts where they're calling you to cancel instead of just doing it themselves. And you can try and talk them off the ledge, remind them of their return of premium and why they got it and all that good stuff. And honestly, guys, one thing I read in the Eagle once is the agent would say, the last thing he would say to the person before that would be like, hey, remember, Mr. Prospect, whatever you do, hold on to this policy. You never know when you might need it. And I say that to people all the time. I'm like, hey, straight up, I'm like, hold on to this. Don't cancel it. I've met people in the field who've had a really crummy policy for like 20 years from some random company. I'm like, why do you still have this? I'm like, well, my agent told me to never cancel it. I'm like, oh, that works. Cool. That was pretty simple. So don't be afraid to tell them that. And finally, guys, send a handwritten thank you note that same evening. I feel like since I started doing the handwritten thank you notes instead of just the printed out ones that I was doing at first, I feel like that has helped my cancel it issue. I'm not sure because we don't have a controlled study on the matter, but doesn't hurt. I think people like getting mail that isn't a bill. So doesn't hurt to spend 60 cents on a stamp and hopefully save your $1,000 of annual premium. So anyway, I think that is all I had for you guys. We probably don't have a ton of time. I know you guys want to get out in the field. Does anybody have any questions really quick? if you guys think of anything, you can hit me up on Boxer. Most of everything I talked about is on fhlconnect.com. A lot of our scripts and printouts and things like that are on the protectonefamily.com website. But yeah, you guys, it's not a super fun or exciting topic, but it's just kind of one of those things we got to talk about. It's good for you guys to know. And if you think of questions, down the road as you are delving into this stuff, I'm happy to either for you guys. So if no one has anything else to add, I am all good.
Hey, Maria, real quick, is Zach. Sorry, this is running late, but quick
You're good.
question. If somebody falls off the books, or you see that, anyway, they come off the books, what's the quickest method and most efficient method for getting them back on as far as updating their banking information and all that?
I would definitely call them or show up, just get that routing and account number. And then there is a form it's on FHL Connect under marketing materials. It's the ACH form that they need to sign. And then we fax that in to customer service, or they can call. If we call customer service with them right there, it's more likely to happen. But yeah, they need to somewhat be involved in that. Customer service won't let me. I've tried before, just like, hey, they gave me their new account number and they won't let me just do that. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, they used to let me call in and exchange the no account number, but nowadays, guys, they have to call in. So 3-way call or ACH form. That's a great idea, Maria. I've never used that. So
Yeah, 3-way call is the best way to do it.
Guys, if you're driving on during this Zoom and you thought to yourself, man, I wish I was sitting still and could have written some of this stuff down. Here's the good news, guys. This Zoom has been recorded. This Zoom, before the end of the week, will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. It is Davenport Agency, Schneider, it's Globe Life, Davenport Agency, Schneider Agency. So if you just not Google that, but go on to YouTube and type that in, it will find our channel, and then everything gets labeled and put in chronological order. So just hop on there, get this information. Most of the content that we have on here gets recorded and put on there. So just understand that's just another one of the tools available to you here today. And then if you're confused, reach out to someone who can get you unconfused. You have all the resources in the world at your fingertips. Let's make sure that we don't just sweep something under the carpet and keep on moving on when it could be some valuable information. But Maria, great content today, guys. Next week, Founders Week 2022, biggest week of our year. Let's make sure we're putting in that massive activity today and this week to ensure a big week next week. And I did want to remind everybody at the top of your inbox, there is a CRM training that is happening in T-minus 12 minutes. So if you're already in front of your first business and you got to get in there, go do it. If you got a couple minutes and you can get some, you could use a little brushing up on your CRM skills. The incredible Sean DeBerry will be leading a session that starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time today, and every non-train more Tuesday. So have a great day, guys. We've been so very blessed. Let's go be a blessing for somebody else today in our community. Have a great day.